These webinars are geared to help you develop competencies, to help you grow in your everyday life and workplace. You wrap it all up, and that drives the quality of the output or the quality of the deliverable that you have on a project. Two key drivers are your work breakdown structure and your risk breakdown structure. Drive and keep it focused.
PQC International, powered by measurable solutions. We do not compensate effort, we compensate measurable results.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the WPQC series of webinars. We apologize for that slight technical snag. My name is Meeta, and I will be your host for today. Thank you for joining us for Fire Your Project Manager, Hire a Little CEO, Grow Your Business Exponentially webinar. Before we start, I ask that you please type your questions in the chat window throughout the presentation. Our panel would be happy to answer them at the end of the session. The session today is facilitated by Project Management Evangelist and CEO of PQC International, Frank Payne. Frank has a formidable academic pedigree and has over 20 years of field-tested experience from corporations and the U.S. Army. His professional experience spans information technology, process improvement, construction, manufacturing, and human resources projects across diverse regions globally. Without further ado, I'd now like to turn it to our speaker for the day, Frank Payne.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to talk about a subject that is dear to my heart, and that subject deals with the role of traditional project managers. As Mita said, if you have any questions, please log them in, because I need to warn you now on this one. All you that are hearing my voice today, I'm probably going to hurt your feelings in this webinar. I'm probably going to make you mad about what I'm beginning to talk about, because I want to get you out of the mode of thinking the traditional way of managing projects. I want to get you to understand that we live in a world today where changes are happening so fast. Companies are trying to do things faster. They try to push decision-making further down into the organization. And some of the things I'm going to say today probably going to make you, get you a little upset, but I'm okay with that, because this is about changing your mind. This is about a whole mindset change about how you look at projects, how you deal with projects within an organization. Begin to understand it's not about your project, it's about your project and how it impacts the business that you work for, the company that you work for. So what I'll deal with today is the changing landscape of project management. That's going to be one of the things to talk about. The second thing, understanding the thought process, what I call the thought process of CEOs. See, we're going to get that deep today because that's part of the mindset change that I want you to have. And my third item is there are three financial elements that you, a project or program manager, need to begin to think about, because we need to get out of this world of thinking about things in a foo-foo way. You cannot take foo-foo to the bank, and we're going to address these three issues today. And when I finish talking and sharing this information with us, we will have a panel that will be willing, able, with great joy and passion to answer all your questions about the topic that we're going to share here today. Now, talk about projects. We all need to be looking at how do we make these projects profitable. do things in a way that really adds value to your company? See, the old way was you'd be happy to bring a project in on schedule, on the budget. That's the old traditional way of thinking about projects. But today, we can't do that any longer. We got to begin to look at how do we make things sustainable? How do we have profit and really drive real value in what we're doing? Value is a measurement. Value is something that you can take to the bank. Value is something that says you're being quantitative to see and do what the customer needs you to do. So what do we mean by that? Am I retaining existing customers, or am I losing customers? Am I increasing revenue per customer, or are we losing money? Doing market penetration, or are we stagnant? Do we have brand recognition, or nobody knows about what we're doing? Are we improving our business process to make it leaner, meaner, and automated? Are we doing some type of enhancement to policy? What are we really doing to drive sustainability? What are we really doing now as project managers to make things profitable? See, you can't keep talking about, I'm bringing project in on schedule. I'm bringing project in under budget. I'd rather see you be late on a project. I'd rather see you be, over budget in some cases. It will really driving true value for your company. We no longer think like traditional project managers. That time in our life is gone. If you're still operating like a traditional project manager, I'm telling you after this webinar today, you need to rethink your process. You need to rethink what you're doing so you can begin to be value added. See, when you're not adding value to your company and companies begin to lay off folks, guess what? They're going to lay the folks off that's not adding any value. You can't say, I did this before. It don't count anymore, guys. You have quantitative value. You've got to be able to drive and add value to what you're doing in your company today. You spend that company's money. What are you getting back for that? And we begin to think about that. Think about how we move forward with making things sustainable. Driving innovation. What about, are you doing anything that's going to be new product design? What about new process manufacturing? Are you helping to increase sales? Or are you doing projects just to do projects? Are you helping drive marketing? What about the organization structure? All of the things we're talking about here help you be more efficient at what you're doing and drive how you're looking at projects in a new world that we live in today. So, here's my whole thing. Become a little CEO. Become a little CEO. Now, what do I mean by that? You have to be looking at your company's CEO. The board of directors did not hire your company's CEO just to do the same old, the way it was done in the past. Wall Street is measuring your company's CEO by how he or she is adding value. Wall Street wants increased market capitalization. Wall Street says, I want to see revenue growth. Wall Street says, I want to see profits. Wall Street has given your company a list of key performance indicators, a list of metrics that you must meet. And you, down in the organization, whether you're a program manager, project manager, practice manager, whatever you want to call, you need to be held to the same standards that your corporate CEO is being held to. You realize something. You are running a small business inside your company. Okay? You're doing entrepreneurship. You're doing entrepreneurship. You need to run your project like a business. You need to be financially accountable for what you're doing in your part of the business. Every project needs to be run like a small business. You have financial accountability. Stop being the traditional project manager saying, well, I brought this in on schedule, and I'm under budget. You can't take that to Kroger. You can no longer do that. Get this stuff and become a little CEO. So what do you mean by this? Now, we all understand that when we talk about project initiation, this is the process of setting up and get the project ready to go, making sure that you understand all the great things that need to be successful with a project. You understand that you need to go use your company's project repository for historical data, historical information about a project. You understand that you need to make sure you have a very, very good statement of work. Because the statement of work is the tool that really gets you ready to make sure you clearly understand what the requirements are. What the requirements are for that project. Because if you don't have a good statement of work, I tell you now, you should not be moving trying to do a project charter, which is the document that gives you the authority to use the resources of your company to drive a project. Resources, people, equipment, and money. So when you begin to think about that, you got to begin to look at what's my high-level project work plan. In other words, what am I using to drive my day-to-day activities to make sure what I'm doing is successful? How do I measure value? How do I track value? You got to begin to look at changing your mindset. Come again with a different mindset. You change your mindset, now you begin to add to the bottom line of your company. So think about this. The biggest part of any project is going to be planning. Listen, project planning is going to be the biggest piece of your project. And a lot of times people say, you know what, I'm not doing a lot of planning because we got to go. We got a schedule to meet. I'm telling you now, if you jump in the water with the sharks and you don't have a plan, the shark's going to eat you up. And that's exactly what a lot of traditional project managers are doing. They do not have a financial responsibility. They don't have a financial concept about how to drive a project. See, I'm saying to you on the phone here on this webinar that you need to understand that when you're in a situation to run a small business, you have financial accountability. What if you had to make payroll? What if you had to pay for payroll? What if we said you run that project successfully and then we'll reimburse you at the end? I guarantee you your mindset will change. I guarantee you how you do things will change. You then begin to act like a little CEO because you wouldn't be able to sleep at night because you're trying to figure out how you're going to make those payments to pay your staff, pay everything for that particular project. Your mindset will change. Project planning is there to help you make sure you have a good plan. Caution though, don't get into planning paralysis. Don't stay in planning so long that you never get the work done. You got to be careful with this because when I think about project planning, some big rocks that come out of this, big nuggets that come out of this, are things like communication plan. Communication plan sets up that whole channel to say how are we going to communicate with ourselves, how are we going to communicate with the customer, how are we going to communicate with our partners, how are we going to communicate with upper management. All of these things begin to formulate your process, your plan for communication. I already talked about the statement of work as a key deliverable there to help drive this. Your project work plan, your project schedule. You know, a lot of times we talk about schedule in a way that we don't really use a schedule the way it's supposed to be done. If you use a tool like Microsoft Project or Primavera or whatever you may be using, you must manage the schedule in a very proactive way. It is a tool that allows you to look at where you are and how you're doing things to say, are we on track? Are we spending more money than we're supposed to be spending? Same thing with resource training plan. When I talk about training plan, I'm talking about training of your staff, training of your customer, because when you finish this project, they need to have the right competency to be able to use what your project was supposed to be delivering. Weekly status report. To me, weekly status report is absolutely critical because it then drives how you report back through your communication plan. The other component piece I think is key is having dashboards and scorecards. Dashboards and scorecards are critical. You've got to begin to talk about where are we? Where are we at any moment, any point in time? In management, your customer, your management team should be able to walk up to you and say, where are we? And that means, something simple. That means, what's the status right now? Are we good? Are we on track? Are we making money? Are we spending money wisely? Financial accountability. That's the key thing that's helping us drive and look at that. Let's look at the communication plan a little bit. There needs to be a team director out there. Because if somebody needs to contact a team member on Saturday, on Sunday, for whatever reason it may be, in related to the project, you need to have a team director that's constantly updated. That director should have your customer name that you're working with, your team members, your management team, your sponsor, all the key players that are involved with this particular project or program. Organization chart. Organization chart is a great tool. It helps you to better understand who's on first base, who's playing what. It helps you guide yourself to look at where you are. Meeting management, okay? Don't have meetings just to have meetings. Listen to me. Meetings are expensive. Meetings are expensive. Meetings can be a waste. Meetings can get you in trouble. Too many meetings will drive your team crazy. It doesn't increase productivity. Control the meetings that you have. Make sure you have meetings that are focused on adding value to the program or to the project. Escalation process, absolutely critical. There's a problem on the project. How do you know who to escalate to? How do you know when to escalate something? You've got to begin to look at how we do this. How do we make sure that we communicate internally and with our clients? You need to have an escalation process on your internal side and also on the client side. Last one is status reporting. Status reporting should always be done with a dashboard or a scorecard. I'll say it again, because I know many of you on this call are using status report that's in Microsoft Word and all that. Those things don't mean nothing. You need to have a clear status report with a dashboard or a scorecard. Management don't like to read a whole bunch of reports. Management don't have time to read 10-page status reports. Give them a one-page dashboard or a one-page scorecard that gives them an overall picture. They can look at it within a matter of seconds to see where we are on this project or program. Stop writing these long, wacky status reports. You got to focus on dashboard and scorecard. Are you out there? If you're with me, give me a handshake. Do something in your chat bar. I need to know that you're hearing me out there. I need to know that you're with me out there. So somebody needs to do something. Go on your chat, start typing in some messages, and let me know you're with me. Let me know you're mad, too, because if you're mad, I'm happy about it. We're fun today. The next thing I'm talking about, you hear? Okay, Herman Lee, I got you, baby. I need other people to come on, talk to me out there. There are people out there that just Herman Lee. All right, so move on. Acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is something that says we need to make sure that we agree upon what the acceptance criteria is going to be up front. Not later on, not halfway through the project, not halfway through the program, but up front. Okay? You need to agree on what those things are. Because if you don't, you or your client going to be disappointed or going to get mad because you say, well, that's not what I agreed to do. Acceptance criteria is a formal process that says, at the end, when we deliver this project to you, if we deliver these things to you, these 15 things, you are prepared to accept it and move on to the next step. Focus on key product deliverables. All right? It's talked about authorization levels. It talks about turnaround time. It's talked about making sure you have a written acceptance agreement, because your acceptance agreement is going to be directly charged and linked to your transition agreement. You cannot be driving programs and projects today without having a clear understanding of what the expectations are that the client's going to get at the end. Because if you're spending $1 million or $5 million of a client's money to do a project or a program, and you don't have clear expectations of what they're going to get at the end or some point along the way, you got a problem. Like I said, acceptance agreement always signed by the program manager and the client, the sponsor or whatever the case may be. Why? He said, why do you want me to sign it? I want you to sign it because people have amnesia. In project management, there are a lot of amnesia going on. And we can control amnesia. The CDC says that that's one of the biggest problems, one of the biggest diseases in project management is amnesia. Okay? So you want to cut out because they have to give some people some medicine and stuff. So let's fix that and make sure that we drive it where we are. Make sure your acceptance agreement is signed by you, the program manager, and the sponsor. Now, as we begin to walk through and look at another piece, plan and approach. You know, where people get all messed up. They get all messed up out here. A lot of we don't have the scope nor the objectives clearly defined. Now, if you have a fantastic statement of work, it should be clearly defined. Okay? But the problem is, as I said in one of the webinars earlier this year, sometimes we don't even understand how to do a statement of work. So your plan approach out the gate going to be all messed up. All messed up. You know, you got to have some kind of understand what the situation is. You know what? What's the problem that we're trying to solve? What problem we're trying to solve? We make sure we understand how to do that. What are the constraints that we're dealing with? Okay? Because if you do a project in different parts of the world, there may be constraints. There may be currency constraints. There may be cultural constraints. There may be a lot of constraints out there that's driving what you're doing and focus on that could hold you up both in dates, costs, and all kinds of things. Possible compromise. You may have some compromise. But if you don't have a plan approach to say how you're going to deal with that, that becomes a big problem. What are the risks and benefits of this project? What's doing this? What is it going to do for the company? What is it going to do for the client? Why are we doing it? Maybe you should kill it. Maybe do it at all. You could be able to make recommendations to the client throughout the process. Now, remember we talked about acceptance criteria? See, you monitor your acceptance criteria at some frequency throughout the life cycle of the project. Let's say you got a 12-month project. Maybe you have a touch point with the client every quarter. Sit down with them and have a review. That's when you can make further recommendations. That's when you can help drive what you're looking for. You want to drive everything to make sure you have approval. Because driving a program or project and the client is not on the same page with you, it's an ugly situation at the end of the project to say, oops. It is too late to say, oops, guys. You spent the money, you use all the resources, and you deliver what you promised. That is a problem. So there are 6 important questions in any project. Let's take a look at them. Talk about plan and approach. 1, create a work plan. Work plan talks about deliverables. And let me be clear here. Every deliverable that you have with a client should never, ever be subjective. Never ever be subjective. If I can't pick that deliverable up in my hand, if I cannot quantify it, it is not a deliverable. If I cannot pick that deliverable up, if I cannot quantify that deliverable, it's not a deliverable. If you write a subjective statement as a deliverable, you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you right now, at the end of the project, you will get your feelings hurt because the client is going to interpret that subjective statement and they're going to have a different interpretation and they're going to tell you that you're not done, it's not finished. You need to identify tasks that are related to the deliverable. What are some things I need to do to focus on my deliverables? How do I make sure that I'm driving everything to make sure we got everything the way I want it? Things that are logically connected together. Estimates that you do should be connected together. Again, we're talking about all the things you need to do as a little CEO that drives the project. All the things you need to do to drive a project. Because that's what it's all about. How do I make this whole thing come together? How do I make sure that everything we've done, now remember we said that resources are people and equipment. If I'm not utilizing those 3 effectively as a little CEO, I'm not going to be successful. I'm not going to be successful. Look at number 2, project execution. My people and my other resources to drive my project to be successful. This is talking about constantly updating. Because remember, your project or your program is fluid. It's going to happen. Murphy going to show up. Risk going to pop up. So you can't assume that the plan you had earlier is the plan that you execute throughout the project. It's not going to work. This thing's going to be fluid. It's going to be a change. It's going to be driving what we're doing and focusing on how to make sure that we make sure that what we're doing is delivered properly. Driving our status report, driving our log, looking at project review, focus on boards, steering committees. All of these things are things you got to be focused on as a little CEO to drive your project or your program. And so this is how you got to begin to look at it. Then this piece is controlling. Control this thing. This thing could be a monster. This project could be a monster. It is constantly evaluating the current status. Where are we? Reading my dashboard. Where are we? Reporting my scorecard. Where are we? Because change control is absolutely key. Because we cannot manage a whole lot of things going on. Some things out of your control. Something's out of control. And that's why you need to have a very good change control board process in place. You have a change control board that you're able to take changes to, make sure you got a good change log, make sure you got a good change control process in place, because risk will show up. Murphy will show up no matter what you're doing. Murphy will show up. You got to forecast where you are. Again, I'm beaten to death. Scorecard, dashboard, scorecard. What page to get the status of where your projects are as you do with controlling. Talk about change control management. Make a good process in place for that. Control board should not meet every day. They only meet when there's a need for a change. And there should be only a need for change when there's a major change. Because remember, when you get a change order, it impacts your schedule, your costs, okay? It could impact your scope, could impact specific deliverables. All these things you need to have. Because if you don't manage change in the right process, Murphy will show up with scope creep. If Murphy shows up with scope creep, you have a problem. It can increase your risk. It's going to throw off your financials. It's going to put you in a very bad mess. You're going to be all messed up. Project close out. Project close out is a biggie. If you don't close out a project effectively with a closeout report, people will still be doing work on your project, still charging to your project, and guess what? It's going to mess up your financials, little CEO. You need to have a good process in place that control project closeout. Make all your people have been reassigned to another project or back to their original department, because most of you are going to be operating in a matrix environment anyway. So that your vendors have been paid and all POs have been closed. Make sure project documentation is in the right place. Make sure project plans, all the things, your lesson learned database, all of that's part of your archive to make sure that you close in out a project the right way. So project closeout is a big piece of this. Changing landscape of project management is where we're going. Because this focus on technical aspects of project, developing task lists, creating schedules, look at people, the critical aspects of people. Look at all the things that we used to focus on. But here's the way we're going. Now in the future, you put on your hat as a little CEO after this. You put on as a little CEO after this. Companies recognize that it doesn't matter how good the schedule is or how well the people are managed. Okay? It's about the value that you bring, the quantitative value that you bring to the project or to the program. They emphasize on business skills and competency. But when you look at this, it's a changing project management that we have expectations of. We want project managers now to use project management as a core competency. We want them to use it as a core competency. Okay? We want to make sure that driving through this piece, driving through everything, we got to make sure that you focus on driving value. CEOs. Keep moving. Now look at this picture on the screen. All right? I need to make sure that you look at not just the technical aspects of the project, not just the people aspects of the project, but now it's all about the business aspect. It's about the business aspect. I'm going to say it again. It's all about the business aspect. You, as a little CEO, need to begin to drive and think about how am I going to help my company increase revenue, reduce costs, increase productivity. But look on the website. Look at what Wall Street is asking your CEO to be responsible for. How can you help your CEO be successful? You need to be a little CEO and then mimic what's required of him or her. How can you help them with the business aspect of it? The new project manager or the little CEO has a greater business awareness. They have greater business awareness. How is this going to impact the market? How is it going to impact our customers? How is it going to impact our company? They have a business acumen that helps them become more savvy in thinking about how to run a business. They now have greater business competencies. They understand how to focus on things like earned value, and all these different things we're going to talk about here in just a minute. So, if I look at this, the current definition of project success is remaining, being on time, unbudgeted, and within scope. That is the traditional project manager. That's a traditional project. Those are the three things we've been told all years of our lives. Those are things that the PMBOK tells us about. Okay? I'm telling you, those things are okay, but those are not the things you need to be focused on as a little CEO. Those are not things that will put money in the bank for your client. Okay, so here's what we want to do. I'm going to ask you several questions. Did your project make money for the company, or did it lose money? You saying? I'm not responsible for that. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are responsible. If you're spending company's money, you have a financial responsibility, a financial stewardship to bring money back to your company. You got to make sure that we talk about was the original business plan filled? Did you meet the needs that you promised? Another question. Usually the customer satisfied what you did. Figure this out. Was a given business opportunity effectively exploited? Did you really take it all the way? Did you take it and make it innovative? Did you take outside the box to make money for the company? Was results achieved likely to open up new avenues for making money for your company? See, guys, don't just do projects. Just don't do the same old stuff that you've been doing for the last 10 or 15 years. We got to stop doing this stuff. What value you add to the company? They got bills to pay. They got your payroll to pay. They got all kinds of things to pay. And you spend money, but if you're not making any money, why do they need you? We got to wake up, project managers. We got to change how we're doing things. We can no longer just sit around and talk about we did on schedule. Nobody. So what? So what? What paid you just because you did on schedule? Then you wouldn't make money. You can't pay your bills at home. Talk about measure of success. I'm going to hit a couple of these. On the left side of your screen, look at this. Side of the triple constraint. That's the old way of thinking. Well, the new way I want you to think is satisfy strategic aligned business need. What business need are you meeting? Look at another one. Must not leave the original project budget no matter what. New thinking. Maximize the return on the money invested in the project. Sometimes we get so tight and so hung up on the budget. I'm not saying the budget's not important, but we get so hung up on it that we lose value and lose focus on why are we doing what we're doing. Let's give it up. Meet technical or functional specification. I say new thinking. The true need or the root cause of the problem. Because you could create the greatest result in the world, but the customer can't use it to make money or to add value. Guess what? They're not going to use it. They're going to put it on the shelf, and all of a sudden, there's no value to them right there. Here's more at the bottom. Make successful customer sign off. That's the old way of thinking. New way of thinking. Manage the overall project life cycle, including post-project. In other words, prove yourself. Prove value that you brought to the table. Go to the desk with a smile on your face. Look at the customer and say, you know what? We value to you, and here's how it's quantified. Now the customer can take it to the bank. Prospective. Here's a couple of these. Align project with company strategy. The past what? Has been the concern, been not my concern. I tell you now, you need to change your thinking. If that's the way you think, you got stinking thinking. You got to change your thinking. You got to begin to look at what should I be doing now? Key determinants of project success. Valuable knowledge for me to have. So you got to change how you think. Next, economic viability of the project. Old thinking must have been done by somebody, well, I don't care. Well, you got to care. The new thinking is something needs to be evaluated and confirmed before processing too far on the project. Because if you get too far on the road, it's too late. Example, my project for $30 million for 4 years. Year 2, they've already spent $40 million. Listen to me carefully. That manager, their boss or her boss, need to go to Home Depot and get a chemically treated 2x4 and beat them. Here. They beat. You don't do that. You're not thinking. You think of a project manager. You got to begin to think like a CEO. You bring value, guys. Let's do one more. Find an accountant. Do something unrelated to the project. Project manager, hey, that's not my job. I'm not worried about that. I'm telling you, new thinking, new mindset. You need to know where the money come from and its usable now. You need to make sure that the money you're spending adds to the bottom line of the company. We're talking about moving from being a project manager to being and thinking and acting like a little CEO in your company. Project audit with a solution to a problem was determined. I remind everybody on this webinar that remember, all projects are birthed out of problems. If you have a problem, you not have a project. You got a small problem, you got a small project. You got a big problem, you got a big program. See, you got to begin to think strategically now. You can no longer just walk around as project manager and think tactically. Got to get it done. I got to get it done. You got to begin to wear a strategic hat as well. It's all about the problem that you're trying to solve, that drives the solution that you're trying to get to. If I look at CEO project life cycle, the first one we'll perceive beginning before the project is planned out. In other words, what am I doing? What am I investigating? What am I working with upper management to try to solve? Number 2, we'll know an end at a customer sign-off. It's not about getting the customer sign-off. Yes, that's important. What am I bringing to this? What assets am I retiring? What value am I bringing? What am I adding to the client to make sure they can do what they need to do? So what am I doing to make sure the total asset life cycle is there? Because that's where the money is for your company and for your client. Look at this diagram. Hit this real quick. Look at the total life cycle focus. From project investigation to research to walk all the way through here. But here's the key piece. Look at the dark gray areas and the bullet. Traditional project managers, okay, focus on project execution. That's on a concern for adhering to the triple constraint because we are all PMPs. We've been told you got to do the triple constraint. And I say, whoopee-doo. We do. You got to focus on the next generation of thinking, and you got to think like a CEO. You got to have a business perspective. Focus on the entire asset life cycle. Be concerned about the business aspect or whatever you're driving for your client. Make sure that you're doing something that is quantified, that can be added to the bottom line of your company, guys. I know beating this to death today. I know some of y'all are probably mad, but that's okay. You'll be right. So look at this diagram here and begin to change your mindset about how you're doing things. Under the bottom line says, the company afford to keep me and my team long term. The line says, driving this project or program that my company can create more jobs. The line says, am I driving this project or program where my company can pay for the 401k or the retirement plan? The bottom line says, is our company growing to expand even further? The bottom line says, can our company create more products and services to add to their customers? Bottom line says, am I really doing what I need to do to help my company be successful overall from a business perspective? See, the bottom line is where we get down to what I call good for the business. Good business. Not just good for you, not just good for your team, but remember, if you do this wrong and your program fails, depending on the size of it, it could potentially cause people to lose their job because of the money that your project or your program lost. Okay? Mom used to tell me that money don't grow on trees. You know, you ask mom for money, mom said, we don't have no money. We got money for the bills, but we don't have it. My mom said, money don't grow on trees. And you know, I learned that over time. You need to understand it also. Your company, the money you do this project or program, they just go get some money out in the backyard. They either took their money out of profits, or they had to go borrow money from some lending institution to give you money for your project. It did grow on the tree on the campus of your company. All right, guys. Think where the money came from. You got to give them their money back plus. You got to give them their money back plus. That's it. The financial elements I want to hit as we close. One of the market value at MVA. MVA says how much a company is worth minus how much was invested. See, you impact MVA. If you run a $5 million project, you impact the MVA of your company. All right? Simple thing. How much a company's worth minus how much was it. We are a multi-billion-dollar company. We capitalization of $20 billion. And my $5 million is not going to move the dollar. I disagree with you. It got to be your $1.5 million, but all the project managers, or the majority in your company, are thinking the way a traditional project manager thinks. That's multiple $5 million. That's multiple $2 million. That's multiple $1 million. All adds up quickly and begins to have a significant negative impact on your company. The third is EVA, economic value add. Economic value add is the increment measurement of management ability to create value using the existing assets of the company. Okay? What we use? What's my existing asset? Profit. Okay? What's another? Revenue. Okay? Existing assets of the company. Because by Uncle Sam, take your piece. Okay? All of us know Uncle Sam. Those are your relatives that when you get your paycheck. You got Uncle Sam, you got Cousin Georgia, you got Chief Fiker, all those people. Well, the corporation have cousins too. They take money, billions of dollars. So you need to look at economic value add. The third one is net present value. Now, as a little CEO, of the three, net present value is the one you would deal with the most. Net present value is the one you're going to deal with the most. Because it is a financial technique used to evaluate project attractiveness. How attractive is this project? Can it do this project? If it fails, what's the impact on the company? Because, see, here, net present value says, I need to calculate net present value before I start the project. Many companies say, no, you must calculate net present value before I fund your project. If you tell me you have a net present value of 18%, maybe I'm going to say, good. Okay? Or if you back with net present value of 5%, I say, no. Because your company can make more money by not doing your project, by putting that money into an investment that they could get 8% on, so your project may not be that attractive when I look at present value. See, you as a CEO need to look at net present value to justify your project and prove to your company that there's a reasonable risk of being successful. There's a reasonable risk that you bring more money back to the company for dollars being invested. So, net value is one problem to work with. Now let's look at this together. Look at how there's a flow here. As CEO, net present value is where you're going to be most of the time. Because it says the wealth added by a single project. The wealth added by a single project. That is serious. What are you adding? Okay? Economic value added says the wealth added by all projects in a year. Okay? Because here, we're looking at programs, we're looking at a portfolio. So, if 40% of my portfolio of projects in my company are losing money, guess what? Some have to go. I have to lay people off. I can't afford it. Your company can afford that kind of loss. So every one of you on this call got to begin to think about, how do I add value? How do I add value that's quantified? Okay? Market value, the increase in company worth that's driven by making sound investments. Every one of your projects, remember this, in the portfolio, when I talk about economic value add, EVA, think about stock market. Think about mutual fund. In some mutual fund, the average has somewhere between 50 and 75 stocks. If half stocks are losing money, my mutual fund is going to lose money. If 5% of stocks are losing money and the other 95% making money, guess what? I'm still happy. Mitigate my risk because I have so many other projects going on that are successful. Okay? Now, you're not all going to be perfect. Your project's going to fail sometime. But we're saying we need to have a net gain because market value added also moves to the next area, which I don't have on here, which is market capitalization. That company shows their value to Wall Street. So I got to get you to think like a CEO. I got you to change your mindset. I got to get you to get out of this role of, after the call, I want all y'all to stand up wherever you are. I want you to put your hand on your head and to take off the project manager's hat. Ball it up and throw it in the trash. I want you to put your hands on your head again. I want you now to put on your little CEO hat. And I want you to wear, from this point forward, the little CEO hat. Now, I want you to do this for real. I have a video camera, all of y'all. Okay? I need you to take the project manager's hat off. Put it up, throw it in the trash. Put a CEO hat, walk down the hallway with your team with a smile on your face. Because now you know you got to go add value. Now you know you got to help put some money in the bank. No matter how big your company, how small your company may be that you work for, you got to put some money in the bank. In summary, we've talked about changing the landscape of project management, moving from a traditional project manager to a little CEO. We talk about how CEOs think. We talk about the mindset that a little CEO has to have. We talk about the 3 financial elements that you use to measure. And we said that you, as a little CEO, will focus mostly on net present value because that's where the money is. That's where you add significant value to grow your company to EVA and MVA. So, as close, I want to give you a couple of references. I want you to Amazon and buy these books. Okay? I want you to go to Amazon, www.amazon.com. Now, you don't see my name up there. I didn't write the books. I ain't making no money off of it. Okay, I was. I charge all of y'all. Okay? So here's what you do. How to become CEO. Jeffrey Fox also has a book. Jeffrey Fox also has a set of DVDs that he gets into a lot of good detail. The guy is excellent. The book is just absolutely excellent. The one is by Ray Johnson. Think and Act like a CEO. Small Read, excellent book. The other one is Speak Like a CEO. You got off the language of a CEO. You can't talk like a project manager anymore. You talk like a project manager when you talk to your project team. When you're talking to your customer, when you're talking to your management, you have to talk like a CEO. When they're talking, we behind schedule. That my SPI is this, my CPI is this. Don't give a crap about no SPI, no CPI, no earned value, all those things. You do as when you're talking to your project team, but learn to talk like a CEO. Command attention, get results. With that, I'm going now to leave. My team is here to answer your questions. I hope either I made you mad, okay, that you mad enough to have a change in mindset, either I made you happy that you heard something new that's going to help you do better to add value to your company. And if you're happy or mad, I look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Right now, I have a team of folks here that's willing and able to answer questions that you have. So thank you very much. This was absolutely fun. I love messing with y'all. I love harassing you on webinars. It's a good thing for me. Thank you, guys. Appreciate attending. Look forward to attending the next webinar.
Frank, and thanks everybody for being participative during the session via the chat app. This has been a very active session. In the room today, we have a panel of little CEOs. You've already heard from and about Frank, but we also have with us Richard Sylvia, who's responsible for ops and service delivery at PQC, Tim Shob, our Chief Technology Officer, and Corbin Hicks, Program Manager and Lead Instructor. First question that we have today is from Gerald Smith, and he says, most business people initiate projects without benefits defined. What do you suggest I do to resolve this problem? Richard, do you want to address this question?
Sure. So if the business people are actually coming to you wanting to understand how a project is kicked off and run without identifying the benefits up front, you're already challenged at that point, right? So Frank earlier talked about creating the project charter, creating the SOW, creating expectations up front. And it's very important that you identify the expectations so you and the client are aligned. Because if you're not aligned up front, by the time you get to the back of the project and you're almost complete with it, you're likely not going to meet their expectations, which is going to cause a huge challenge, right? So it's extremely important that you don't necessarily halt the project, but you need to make sure that you're aligned. You need to make sure that you understand the requirements. You need to understand the expectations of your client before you really start proceeding with the project. Because if not, then you're really asking for trouble at that point. So you need to actually force them into providing the benefits, the expectations, the requirements in order for you to be successful.
Thank you, Richard. The next question that we have is, what role does the business analyst play in defining the acceptance criteria? Corbin, would you like to answer this question?
So Frank mentioned earlier about the importance of having objective criteria and requirements. You don't want anything to be subjective. Well, piggybacking off of that, you need to have the business analyst in the front of the project giving you an accurate sense of requirements. You need to understand what the requirements are. You need to understand what's expected of you, so that when you go define this transition agreement or this acceptance criteria, you're addressing all the requirements that you have when the project started. Because if you have all the requirements listed, you're able to address all of them, then now you can kind of take that as a foundation and look into how can you go above and beyond to add extra value.
Thank you, Corbin. Next question that we have is, where can we find a prototype of a good dashboard or scorecard? Tim, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I would say the first thing that the first approach you would take is, what are you trying to measure? You know, what are you tracking? What KPIs are you trying to obtain? That's going to help drive what you capture. But you can go to Google to get a feel of what's available, also inside of Excel. But I would make myself available to you all so you can actually respond back to the link here, and I can help you once you know what you're trying to obtain to give you some concepts. But I know you want to make it graphical. You want to get a dashboard that's real time as soon as possible, because the value of knowing how to get data and where you are with your project is priceless. You know, most project managers and teams I work with, it takes a lot of work for them to understand what's going on with a project. So they're at today. So I would say you have to go back and decide what you want to capture first, and then you do know you want to be graphical. Google will give you some ideas. You know, there's different tools that's out there, Excellius and a few more, but you want to figure out what you want to capture first.
Thank you, Tim. We do have time for one final question. The question is, do you agree with PMs earning an MBA to aid in increasing their business acumen? Richard, do you want to answer this question?
Sure. So the answer to the question is not necessarily it depends. I think if you have the luxury, if you have the time, if you have the means to be able to obtain an MBA, then I would say that it's priceless, and it actually adds to your value within any industry that you're working within. If you don't have the means to be able to obtain an MBA, then you definitely want to take what I would call your basic management courses, your basic strategy courses, basic quantitative analysis courses, so that at least give you a foundation of the business acumen and then the financial components that you're going to be dealing with when you're dealing with the various executives within an organization. So if you're dealing with C-level resources within an organization, you need to have a certain level of business acumen Frank kind of alluded to earlier, right? So you need to understand what's going on in the industry, depending upon the vertical that you're in. You need to understand what your competitors are doing. You need to understand what it really takes to be able to deliver value within an organization. So again, if you don't have the means to obtain an MBA, You need to at least take business courses. You need to take economic-related courses. You need to understand what's going on in the market in order to truly be able to help your organization add value to the bottom line.
Tim Corbin, thank you, Richard. Tim Corbin, do you want to add to that?
All right, yeah, this is Tim, and I'll start with and I agree with what Richard's saying. What I'm seeing, I come from the area of technology. Well, technology is not the same way it was in the past. Technology is now getting a seat at the table. Technology is helping drive organizations and businesses to the next level. So because it's doing that, and because you're getting invited to the table, I found and I'm seeing the need, for like Richard said, for people in technology as well as other areas to get up to speed on business acumen. Because you got to understand how the finances are relating to driving the business, and not just that part, but also strategy. How can we take this technology and drive our company for the next 20, 30, 40 years? And so because those decisions are different from how do I make this, how do I build this application, how do I integrate this system with that system, and we have to come up with a whole business case and we're participating in that part. It's needed. But as Richard also alluded to, if you cannot get there, by means, Barnes and Nobles, you're going to do a lot of reading. Learn your MBA one way or the other.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, team. Before we close for the day, I would like to ask everyone to take the automatic survey that pops up at the end of the session. We will also be sending a follow-up email tomorrow with a PDO certificate and a link to this recorded webinar. Again, before we conclude, I'd like to let you know that we have our next webinar scheduled on July 25th at 12 p.m. It's called Strategic Planning for Project Managers. Please log on to our website for more details. We will send an invitation to all of you shortly. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you and have a wonderful day.